Join former FBI senior forensic examiners Becky Passmore and Stacey Eldridge as they dig into the world of digital forensics, one bite at a time. Now leading their own consulting firms and educating the next generation of cyber sleuths. These badass babes of digital forensics bring sharp insight, real-world case experience, and a dose of humor to the bits and bytes that build today's investigations. From deep dives into business email compromise and ransomware attacks, Becky's specialty, to cracking the complexities of iPhone forensics, Stacey's obsession. This podcast delivers insider knowledge for professionals, students, and true crime techies alike. If you've ever wondered what really happens when the digital trail is all that's left, tune in and start parsing the truth.
Welcome back to Parsing the Truth, one bite at a time. I'm your co-host, Stacey Eldridge, and as always, I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Becky Passmore.
Hello, everyone.
We are taking a little break from the dark, and we're doing something a little different. We're going to talk about a TV show and how digital forensics could be used to help solve that case. What show are we going to talk about tonight, Becky?
So tonight, we're going to talk about Elsbeth, Season 1, Episode 8, titled Artificial Genius. Now, Elsbeth is a spinoff from The Good Wife, and Elsbeth is a quirky attorney who is embedded with the New York Police Department to make sure that they do everything right. But she always ends up solving the case while taking most of the NYPD along with her, kicking and screaming.
It's a cute little show. Let's summarize the episode. So Elsbeth goes to battle against AI and Quinn. Quinn is the CEO of a location-based crime alert app. Quinn murders a journalist and uses her AI app to divert attention away from herself.
Oh, AI. We got that AI going on.
Yep.
So Quinn, we know she's smart because she built this location crime alert app. She abuses her power as the CEO and basically has an employee enter data into the system that hasn't met their validation requirements. These are fake reports of dog napper in the area of the house of the reporter she later murdered because he dug up some dirt on her and she didn't want that dirt getting out. So she's on scene the day after the murder, sharing she'd never been there before, but she was friends with the reporter and he was writing an article about her.
Okay, so we're going to jump ahead to the murder, and Quinn set herself up with a seemingly rock-solid alibi because she's presenting during a Zoom meeting. Coincidentally, she turned off her camera and had a voice recording going along with the slides during said presentation. She also left her phone at home before heading out. Now, the reporter's down, and then she goes to get his laptop because she wants to delete the dirt. Everything bad about her. She tries to get in, but alas, it's password protected. She simply takes the laptop down to his face and gets logged in because thankfully he had facial recognition enabled on his laptop.
Now this episode is from 2025. Can you unlock facial recognition apps with closed eyes? Let's go way back to where it all began on consumer products. Apple first released facial recognition in November 2017 on the iPhone X. It used a true depth camera system, which used an infrared camera, dot projector, and a flood illuminator to create a 3D map of the user's face. Now, there's always been some aspect of aliveness detection step, and that's why it tells you to look at the screen.
Okay. Now it's really time to geek out on this. Two things. First, if you use another camera or a video camera, you can see the pulses and flashes of light coming from the iPhone from the infrared. And over 20 years ago, I was doing this same methodology to troubleshoot remotes and things like that. because sometimes getting those universal remotes programmed could be a pain. And so swapping out the batteries and reprogramming, an easy way to check if the remote even worked was to see if the infrared was working, and actually shooting something out towards the TV was just to grab a video camera and watch it and see what it does while you're pressing all the buttons. Now, secondly, when Samsung's Face ID first came out, there was an easy way to get around it. You could print out a picture of said owner, then cut eyes out of the picture that you've printed, and then hold the picture up to your face with the eyes and the eye holes, and then bingo, you're into the phone. Becky, did you ever try this?
Well, I didn't try this, but we did have conversations and discussions about, well, if you're holding the phone and you just walk by and cross in front of the face of the individual to unlock the device, maybe that would work. But
A
yes,
drive-by facial unlocking.
a drive-by facial unlocking, that was always, let's see if we can make this work. So yeah, so the point of all that background information was to simply tell you she would not have been able to unlock that laptop with the dead guy's face. But it's a good thing she could in that show, because it creates a trail of evidence for you to follow on that said laptop.
She's on the reporter's laptop now, and luckily her expose is right there on the desktop. She quickly moves it to the trash, and I think she empties the trash because I think I hear a whooshing sound of the trash emptying in the background.
Of
Next,
course.
she inserts her thumb drive into the laptop, drags her version of the expose right back onto the desktop. Then she removes the thumb drive and she's off and on her way.
Let's talk about the artifacts that would be left behind with these actions. First is the logon time and method that she used. Obviously, there is a thumb drive insertion as well, so that's going to leave multiple types of artifacts. We could see make, model, and serial number of that thumb drive. If it's in a Windows machine, shell bags will also help you find or see what folders were accessed on that external drive. You can also check the Finder state on a Mac. This is a nice artifact since Spotlight will index the copied file in the destination location. But even better are those unified logs on a Mac.
Yes. These are some great artifacts that can be analyzed and are going to be present without the subject even opening the file. Even if it's simply a drag and drop situation, there will be some clues left behind. Now, there's still more analysis to be done. You can check the modified and created times of the planted file. Remember, when you copy the new file onto the laptop, it will have a created date of the copied time. So when you copied it over, that will be the date and time for the created stamp, which means in this case, the modified time will be older than the created time, which is another clue of files being moved. There's
Absolutely.
also going to be information within the metadata that is embedded within the file itself. And this
That's
is going
right.
to include information about the user who created the file, more possible file created times, there'll be editing times, and even the software used to create the file. And you could compare that embedded metadata to see if any of that information matches any of the specs for the victim's laptop.
Yeah. It would be great if Quinn, the murderer, didn't take any extra steps to remove her metadata and then had her username embedded in the file along with some of the other information. So perhaps a different software not present on the laptop being used to create that file.
And let's not forget keyword searching, as this is probably how you're going to get your start in the case. Because in real life, we wouldn't know anything that happened on the laptop yet. We wouldn't know that she, got logged in and did the thumb drive and all that stuff. That's what we're working to figure it out. So we're kind of doing this a little bit backwards, but we're still telling you about the artifacts. So now we're kind of going how you would have done this in real life. You're going to start keyword searching for the subject's name. And we know there is something going on here between the reporter And Quinn, because she was there on site, she mentioned they were friends and he was writing an article, but she was also sure to say she'd never been there before either.
Hmm. So we're looking for any evidence that ties them together and any evidence that would indicate the reporter was having any problems with anyone. So obviously, we are looking for the articles since we know the reporter was writing one, but we're also looking for emails or any evidence of interaction between the two of them.
The keyword search results would lead us to the real expose file that was written by the reporter. But remember, it's now missing from the desktop. Will we find that file as an intact, recovered, deleted file? Or will we have to data carve and recover maybe only part of the file? We do know that we would be able to find evidence of lots of interactions with that real file, the original
Sure.
file. And we're talking about links to the file, recent items, jump lists, web cache,
Yep.
shell bags, all of these great artifacts that will help you find evidence of a now deleted file. And you should also look closely at those same artifacts to discover that this new fake expose file that was planted is not showing up anywhere in terms of user interaction. And that would be unusual because if you're working with a file constantly, you would have expected to see evidence of interaction with
Mm.
that file.
Yeah, that's true. So at this point, your spidey sense should be tingling, and perhaps there are lots of links to real expose files, but it's definitely no longer active, and maybe it wasn't even recovered. But now you have another file about Quinn, but there's no interaction with it. It's not enough to simply say these files are present on the device. It's how did they get there? What is their history? Build that history, interaction, and connections between those files.
Now, if you got to the computer fast enough, you could likely recover that deleted file, even though the trash was empty. Everything does tend to disappear really fast on a Mac, but again, if you're fast, you might just get it. Now, regardless, you'll really want to dig into the significance of what's there and what's not. You'd also want to make sure to tie it all in with the timeline as well. Do they have a solid time on the death? If so, why was their interaction with the laptop after death?
Right. So maybe they don't know the time of death yet, but let's not ignore that corroborating evidence coming from other sources, excuse me, like Ring doorbells and security cameras. Did any of those things catch someone entering and leaving the location? But for example, in this case, let's say camera footage indicates Quinn was there, and then you're able to determine that during that time, the favorable file was added to the laptop.
And that's just more fuel for the fire. Based on what you find on the laptop, you could then get a search warrant to search her home and business for that thumb drive, too.
Yep. So now when Elsbeth is on the scene, she asks the cop if Quinn could easily replace the article with one of her choosing by unlocking the laptop, even though he was dead. And the cop answers yes, since it's not very heavy and the body was close. But we've discussed why this was a little whoopsie in the show.
Right, right. There is a liveness detection that must be met. It's looking for your face with your eyes open that are alive. We don't think it would work if you died with your eyes open. Have we missed anything else in this case in terms of artifacts, things we should be thinking about in terms of the laptop and who was there and who motivations, things like that?
No, I think we've kept it, in our line of methodologies, processes, understanding of putting a case together and identifying evidence.
Okay, great. Well, as we wrap up, I do have a favor to ask everyone that's listening. If you are loving this podcast, and we hope you are, could you please leave us a rating on your favorite podcast app? It would really help us get the word out, and we'd really appreciate it if you took the time to do that for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks again for listening to Parsing the Truth One Bite at a Time. Until next time, stay safe, stay sharp, and as always, keep parsing the truth one bite at a time.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow us to get notified the next time a new episode drops. If you can do more, head on over to parsingthetruth.com and donate by clicking on the donate button. Parsing the Truth is a nonprofit organization, and we are raising money to send a new digital forensic examiner to IASIS training next year in Orlando. Thanks.